I'm CK. Tonight we've got a kit from a company I haven't done a kit from before called Lectrify. Level 2 Simple Logic Learn to Solder Blinker Bird. And these guys are from San Francisco, here in the state of California in the US. Again, I'm surprised I haven't heard anything about them before. Maybe they're new on the scene. But whichever way, we'll take a look at it, put it together, see if we learn anything, see if it's fun, and I hope you enjoy the video. The bag, again, designed by educators, Lectrify, Learn to Solder, Blinker Bird, Soldering Kit, Skill Badge, Craft Product, all in one. Build a chirping bird using a multi-vibrator flip-flop circuit that alternates between a tone and an LED. Okay. Circuit provides hand-on exploration of the capacitor-resistor discharge relationship and the properties of parallel resistors. So it shows all the things we have on the back, not included, soldering iron and so on and so forth. Let's see what it actually looks like. The bag is kind of big, as you can see. Let's take the paper out first. Maybe. Let it open up. There it is. It opens up. Prepare workspace. Find a clean, well-ventilated space and wear goggles. Yeah, sure. Insert components. So it shows you, it's not really step by step, but it does have a nice diagram of where all the componentry goes. And then how you put it together, and then a schematic of what's going on, multi-vibrator flip-flop, and more details can be found on their website. Blink rate is controlled by capacitor discharge rate by the size of the resistor and capacitor. Yep. Now what they don't do here is, I don't think they have a variable resistor or cap. Nope. And then parallel, okay. So they also have, let's look at the circuit board and the other board right now. So they kind of printed on it. Now there's the circuit board. I'm going to zoom back in a little bit now because we don't have a big old bag on top of us. So everything's laid out with the PNP, 2 PNP transistors, 2 capacitors. The resistors have their values listed, the buzzer, diode, and LED. And we've got here, what I was kind of skipping over is there are little metal pads on this bird, and when you touch them, you create another parallel resistor to the circuit. Neck feathers are one resistor, body feathers are the other one, which can change the discharge rate and the blink rate and chirp rate. So that's good. Now this is, we've seen these before, you push them through to mount them. We'll get to that. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Then in here we've got a little something or other, plastic bag, which is, I think, the base. It's the base, and it comes with a battery pre-installed. Ooh, that's no good. Let me zoom in on this a little bit, see if we can get it. Yep, let me jerk the camera around. See right here? The switch has come up, and it's become desoldered there and there. So the switch is not actually working right now. I'm going to back off again. So we will have to resolder that. Now, I noticed it. I'm sure there might be a kid in there who gets this and would not notice that and wouldn't know why it doesn't work in the end. So we will remind ourselves to fix that. In here we've got the components. A couple of, what are these? These are 22 microfarad capacitors. Are resistors. There are what, 220s and 100Ks. So here's the 220s, here's the 100Ks. Because I can read color bands, because when I learned to do electronics we didn't have fancy calculators and I couldn't afford a meter, so you just learned to memorize your color bands. Nowadays, with everybody having inexpensive digital multimeters, I would not encourage anybody to memorize resistor bands. You've got tools to do it for you. Now let's look at this LED, and I'm going to put my meter, which I just set over the side here, in resistance, but then I'm going to go to continuity mode, and of course in continuity mode it'll beep when it has conductivity, and that means there's a little bit of current going through the leads. So when I touch it, you can see that's a white LED. So you can always check your LEDs and give them a try with your meter, so you can see what color they might be. You can check all your LEDs to make sure they're that they're actually operating and not busted, and all that kind of stuff. Now, one transistor is in tape, the other one isn't. They're both 3906s, so they're both the same, even though they're from different manufacturers. I wonder why they did that. Huh. I don't know. Probably digging through their parts drawer to send out a kit. So that's the parts and the build guide and what we're planning on doing. So I'll get the soldering iron heated up and we'll put this fella together. So as is our habit, we will be putting the resistors on first. Oh, first I'm going to fix this switch, because I know I will forget if I don't do that. And hopefully I can get this back down without busting it more. I don't think so those are just support legs, so they do not carry the current. The current's coming from these two connectors. Those two traces, those two connectors. But I'm still going to touch it up a little bit, just because I don't want to lever it up accidentally when I'm pushing on it. So it would have worked. It was just not to my liking. So we'll get our resistors out. We'll do the 220s first. 220 ohm. And again, as they describe, if you change these resistors, you're going to get a different discharge rate. So different speeds of flashing or chirping or whatever this is going to do. I'm going to put all the resistors on and then solder them. And of course resistors can go in any orientation. I try in general to put them so the value bands are all facing the same way, so I can quickly see what value something is, instead of saying, okay, am I looking at it forwards or am I looking at it backwards? But I will freely admit I don't always do that. And the board takes solder very well, always a good thing. Next, I think we'll put the diode on. So there's a white stripe here where it says diode, and on the part itself you can see a black stripe, and the black stripe goes where the stripe on the diode symbol is to make sure the current can actually flow. I'm not quite sure why they put a diode there actually. Unless they're trying to balance the power through there, the voltage through there. Huh, I don't know. I'm speculating. Now we're going to put the transistors in, and as you can see on the circuit board, there's a flat spot printed on the circuit board, and the flat spot on the transistor will go right to that flat spot, facing it. So you know you got it in there right. Now this one is in a little piece of paper tape. Don't try and pull it out, just clip it out, because if you start pulling on it and yanking on it, you get frustrated, you bend the leads, might even break it, even though that's unlikely. I'm gonna solder these components I put on. I will say, having a bunch of printing on the back of your circuit board makes it a little harder to see the solder pads. That's just a really minor nitpick on my part. That's all those components on the board. Now we'll do the capacitors. Now I'm still going to clip these off, but one thing we lose when I clip them off is we lose the long lead showing which side is positive and which side is negative. However, we don't really need to worry about that because capacitors have a stripe on them showing the negative side. So even if they're clipped off, like I just clipped off, and you can't get the long lead, then you just look for the stripe. And these are spread leads, and the holes here are too small for spread leads. So what I like to do is get my needle nose and take that little kink out of the lead wire, and that will get us where we want to be. Now the stripe will go to the shaded side on the circuit board. There's also a plus symbol on the circuit board showing you where the positive lead goes. I'm not going to get that all the way down. I'm not going to worry about that. Same thing, I'm going to take the kink out of those leads with my needle nose, straighten them out. Make sure my polarity is correct. And while I'm here, I think I'll go ahead and put the speaker on, or beeper on, and you'll notice it's got a plus sign here because these are polarized, and there's a plus sign on the circuit board showing you where that needs to go. So don't tear the little protective tape off until you've actually soldered the thing down. Now, as you might notice, it's a little at an angle right now, so I know the beeper is not quite flat. And you can see it's not quite flat, it's a little bit up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push on it with my index finger and reheat that, and that brought it down flat. I do that with many things. Most notably, I do it with LEDs, which you'll see in a second here. I'll trim those leads in this minute after I get the LED, and again, long lead is positive, short lead is negative, and there's a little plus sign there showing where the long lead goes. Now Now, same thing. I want to make sure it's flat. So I'm going to push on it with my index finger, reheat that. It moved just a tiny bit. It was pretty much flat already, but I was just snugging it all the way down. And that's strictly for aesthetic reasons. It won't affect the operation of the unit. The next thing is to mount it on this base. Got a couple of screws. And one thing they didn't do here, they obviously broke this off a panel of a bunch of them. There's some rough edges there. It would, again, particularly if you're working with younger or more inexperienced folks, just, if you're making kits like this, just spend the extra. As you can see, 15-30 seconds to smooth those out. It's better. Now we've got a plus indication here, negative indication here, and on the board we've got a plus here and a negative indication there, which makes it easy to figure out. And where did my screwdriver go? Man, I didn't put parts away after the last thing I did. It's not like me. Fortunately, I have my other screwdriver was in the place it's supposed to be. So that screws it onto there, and these posts are also what are conducting the electricity to the circuit. Now we're going to take the birdie and we're going to look and see which way the birdie is oriented, even though it shouldn't matter since it doesn't have anything on there that's polarized. So we're going to put the bird in these slots, and they're making an assumption that friction fit is going to be enough for conductivity. Now this doesn't. Now typically on other kits like this, they have a solder those down to get a little extra conductivity, but they're not asking us to do that this time, so we won't. And I think, how much time do I have left? I do. I'm going to turn this light off because this thing, I think, is ready to go. So let's turn it on. And you can hear it. So now I'll put my fingers on the wings. You can hear that sped it up a little bit. Now on the neck. That changed. And that changed the rate too. I think this will slow it down a little bit. No. This speeds it up. Slow it down. So that's what it does, and again, the circuit is described better on their website. And I just wet my fingers to get a little more conductivity, and you can see it's chirping faster. Let me do the other one that way. Because I'm changing the resistance. With dry fingers, you don't have a lot of, you have more resistance. Wet fingers, less resistance. So that's it. A very simple kit, as you saw, and with the schematic, so you can see what's going on. The capacitors and resistors discharging, alternate and triggering the transistors to send power through this buzzer or the LED. And that's pretty much it. a very simple kit, and as you saw, very quick to put together. Probably be an excellent first kit. It doesn't, I'm not sure it's one that once you're done you're going to do anything with, because it's just going to sit there and blink and beep, not even melodiously, but that's okay. So that's the first kit. I got another kit from these folks that we'll do in a week or so. Until then, I hope you enjoyed the video.